The planet Xylox was a haunting beauty, its ethereal architecture silhouetted against a blood-red sky. Dark spires clawed upwards, casting long shadows over the crumbling streets below. Each evening marked another day under the Tyrant Kaloth's oppressive regime, a regime punctuated by the cries of those like Arya, a personal slave bound to serve him within the colossal fortress he called home. Arya moved through the palace's labyrinthine corridors, her chains clinking softly with each step. Each sound seemed amplified, the metallic scrape against the ground, the quiet whispers of the other slaves. She had long since learned the art of invisibility, slipping through hidden corners away from the gaze of Kaloth and his guards whenever possible. "Arya, move faster," a guard hollered, snapping her attention back to the grueling task at hand. Panic surged through her as she rushed to scrub the cold, hard floors, her fingers raw and aching. When would this end? Freedom felt like a distant flicker in her mind, a ghost she could almost grasp but never quite reach. With her heart heavy, she occasionally stole glances at the blackened horizon through the barred windows, yearning for a taste of fresh air, the scent of freedom, of life. Images of her past flickered in her mind, a sunlit meadow, laughter echoing against the backdrop of vibrant flowers. Memories crested like waves, reminding her of the person she once was, and could be again. Looking around at the faces of her fellow captives, Arya felt a simmering anger ignite within her. This wasn't a life meant to be endured. It was a life meant to be fought against. Whispers of a rebellion had begun to circulate among the slaves, and those whispers ignited a flicker of hope. She clenched her fists, uncertain yet yearning for the courage to join them. "Daydreaming again, human?" another guard sneered, adding to the weight of her shame. She forced herself to focus, fighting back tears and refusing to let despair creep in. But the fire of rebellion danced like a flame within her, yearning to erupt. That very evening, as shadows danced and the palace settled into a deceptive calm, Arya found herself alone in a quiet chamber adorned with stolen relics of conquered worlds. A single spotlight of moonlight illuminated her weary face as she brushed her fingertips against a shimmering crystal, a remnant of what once was. Its glow filled her with warmth, igniting her spirit. "Tomorrow," Arya murmured to herself, the quiet strength in her voice reverberating in the stillness. "Tomorrow, I will make my choice." The world shifted in the chaos of that fateful morning. A thunderous explosion rocked the palace, sending vibrations resonating deep into Arya's bones. Alarms blared as the screams of fury echoed throughout the halls. The rebellion had begun. Confusion reigned. Guards dashed past her, their boots pounding against the floor, urgency overtaking their cruelty. "Run!" someone cried from the corridor, a fleeting voice filled with desperation. In that instant, something within Arya snapped. Freedom was no longer an abstract concept. It was tangible, within her grasp. Without a moment's hesitation, Arya sprinted through the confusion, the weight of her chains now a drive to escape, not a burden. Smoke filled the air, scratching at her throat as she navigated the corridors of her prison, the once familiar halls distorted into a maze of shadows. But they transformed into pathways of possibility. The very structures that had confined her now seemed to offer routes to freedom. As Arya darted toward the docking bay, the sound of blaster fire rang through the air, the stark reality of rebellion unfolding around her. She clenched her jaw, determination lining her features as she neared an exit. But just as she rounded a corner, a guard appeared before her, blocking her path. "Where do you think you're going, slave?" he said, brandishing a weapon. Without thinking, Arya drove her knee into his thigh, a desperate but calculated move. Stunned by the sudden pain, he stumbled backward. Seizing the moment, she darted past him, heart racing, adrenaline flooding her senses. Finally bursting through the docking bay doors, she spotted a ship, a rugged-looking vessel firing up its engines. There was no time to second-guess herself. She tucked her head down and sprinted for the ship. "Hey, get back here!" shouted a voice behind her. Arya's heart raced as she leaped onto the ship, gasping for breath. Inside the cockpit, running the show, was Mike, a smuggler she had only heard of in whispers, but he looked even more formidable now. "Who are you?" he barked, eyes darting to the chaos outside. "Arya, I escaped," she managed, adrenaline coursing through her veins like wildfire. With a look of confusion and intrigue, Mike quickly assessed her, glancing back toward the approaching guards. "You want in? Hurry up!" he shouted, gripping the controls as he prepared for takeoff. "Can you fly?" He raised an eyebrow, skepticism warring with urgency. "Yes!" The words flew from her lips, fueled by raw desperation. She could hardly believe it herself. "I can help." "Buckle up, then," he commanded, diverting his attention to pilot the vessel. Arya hurriedly strapped herself in as the engines roared to life. With a hard jerk, the ship lifted off the ground just as the guards broke into the bay, blasters raised. The thrill of escape enveloped her, erasing the last of her fears. They shot through the atmosphere, bursting into the vastness of space as a cacophony of explosions echoed behind them. "Welcome to the crew, Arya," Mike said, flashing a smirk as the galaxy sprawled before them, endless and inviting. As the ship soared through the stars, Arya pressed her forehead against the cool glass of the viewing port, enraptured by the breathtaking view. The cosmos was a never-ending expanse of deep blues and shimmering whites, a stark contrast to the life she had just left behind. It felt exhilarating and terrifying all at once. "Never been off planet?" Mike asked, flicking switches as he kept a steady grip on the controls. "No, never," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I can't believe I'm free. And it's not just a dream anymore." "Hold on to that feeling because it's only going to get better," he grinned, the rugged lines of his face softening in the starlight. "We need to go to a safe zone. We've got to lay low while we figure out what's next." As they flew, a sense of camaraderie bloomed between them. They shared stories, Arya's days of servitude, the smothering darkness of her captivity, and the flicker of hope she felt at the prospect of rebellion. Mike shared tales of his life as a smuggler, the places he'd visited, and the lives he'd touched with his daring escapades. "What drives you?" Arya asked one evening, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear as they gazed at a distant star system. "Why do this?" "Because I can't stand by and watch people suffer," Mike replied, his eyes serious. "I want to fight back against the tyranny. There's more to life than just surviving. It's about reclaiming what's rightfully ours." Arya found herself drawn into his passion, her heart igniting with a desire to join him in that fight. She yearned to be a part of something greater than herself, to find her purpose amidst the chaos. "Then how do I help?" she asked, the thrill of her newfound resolve bubbling to the surface. "You'll learn, together we'll train. You've got fight in you, I can see it already." A challenge and promise glimmered in his eyes. Starting now. Training became their routine. Every day was filled with laughter mixed with grueling lessons, navigating the intricacies of piloting space vessels and mastering combat techniques. The skills she developed were hard-fought. Each bruise was a badge of honor, weaving a tapestry of resilience. Arya learned quickly. She poured her heart into everything, channeling memories of oppression into resolve. One day, she spotted Mike as he trained with a blaster, his movements fluid and precise. She joined him with a fiery determination blazing within, firing repeatedly at the targets he had set up. "Nice aim, but try to control your breathing," he instructed, stepping closer. "Feel the shot. Breathe in and—" Before he could finish, Arya struck, her aim steady and true. The shot rang loud, echoing through the clearing. "Did that hit?" she asked, excitement lacing her voice. "Spot on, you're a natural," Mike praised, pride shining in his gaze. Day by day their bond deepened. Late-night conversations under the stars unfolded surprises, secrets spilling over. Arya found solace in his company, while he revealed glimpses of his heart, past traumas woven with whispered dreams. But just when she thought life couldn't get better, dark waves swept across the horizon. News reached them from their contact network. Kaloth was consolidating forces for a retaliatory strike. The rebellion would face its ultimate test. The news unsettled the camp, and uncertainty filled the air like cold ash. What if they find us? What if we lose everything? Allies began to question their decisions, doubt flickering among their ranks like embers. "Stay focused," Mike urged, addressing the group huddled around the flickering fire. "Fear is what Kaloth thrives on. We need a plan to strike before they come for us." Arya stood beside him, feeling the embers of confidence burning within her as he inspired their makeshift family. As the night deepened, Each word he spoke connected them like strands woven together, fellow fighters united by shared scars. "We will attack a supply depot," Mike finalized, determination etching his features. "They won't see us coming." With the rallying call echoing through their minds, their preparation intensified. Days turned into a fevered blur of strategizing, training, and solidifying alliances. Arya's heart raced, anxiety and excitement intertwined like turbulent winds. They set out under the cover of darkness, their hearts racing as one, a symphony of beating drums promising that this was a defining moment. Approaching the depot, hidden amid the ruins of abandoned buildings, every soldier's breath quickened. "Remember the plan," Mike murmured beside her, his voice low and steady. "Stick to your formations and use your skills." As they charged forward, blasters blazing, excitement surged within Arya. The world fell away, plunging her into a flood of adrenaline. Gunfire echoed, cutting through the night as they raced toward the target. Arya felt a rush like never before. She was no longer a pawn. She was a soldier. Each shot fired echoed with unity, each movement a dance of freedom. In the throes of battle, she fought beside her allies, igniting a fire of courage and spirit. But amidst the fight, danger lurked. A moment of distraction caused Arya to falter. She spun just in time to see a guard raise his weapon. Heart pounding, she sidestepped, barely dodging the blast that rang out behind her. "Arya, watch out!" Mike's voice called out, slicing through the chaos. Before she had a chance to react, Mike intercepted the guard, wrestling him to the ground. Their movements were a blur, hitting with fluidity that Arya had only recently come to understand. "Don't hesitate," he shouted, urging her on. "Stay sharp, we're almost through." With renewed determination, Arya swept in, firing shots as they closed in on the supply crates. The adrenaline coursed through her limbs as she fought, the connection between her and Mike unbreakable. They moved as a cohesive unit, anticipating each other's needs in the heat of battle. "Target sighted," a rebellious ally called out, and together they advanced. The tide of their lives crossed a threshold. They were no longer the disempowered. They were the reckoning. When the dust finally settled, the oppressive weight of victory hung in the air. The supply depot lay in ruins behind them, a smoldering relic of oppression turned to ash. Arya scanned the faces of her allies, incredulity glowing in their eyes. They had done it. "Did we just win?" she breathed, disbelief mingling with elation. Mike offered her a proud smile. "We did, and this is just the beginning." In that moment, amidst the echoing cheers of victory, Arya felt the chains of her past shatter completely. She was a warrior now, no longer just a slave, but a fighter who had embraced her destiny. In the aftermath of victory, celebrations erupted throughout their encampment. Songs echoed through the night, laughter mingling with distant starlight. But amidst the joy, the shadow of uncertainty loomed. Kaloth was a cornered beast, and cornered beasts were the most dangerous of all. As days passed, they strategized, poring over every piece of intel about the Tyrant's movements. "We need to maintain our momentum," Mike insisted. "Kaloth will retaliate, and we can't let him catch us unaware." "But how?" someone grumbled. "What if he regroups? What if he's waiting for us?" Arya sensed the doubts creeping in, but she refused to let fear guide their actions. "We've already taken down one of his strongest supply depots. We can keep going," she stirred, her voice ringing with certainty. "We have the element of surprise on our side. Let's capitalize on that." "Arya's right," Mike chimed in, standing beside her. "We need to push forward while we have the energy of the rebellion behind us." In the days that followed, their unity blossomed. They grew closer, not just as allies, but as a family. As strategizing turned into late-night conversations under the stars, Arya and Mike's bond deepened. They shared dreams and fears, their souls intertwining in ways that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. One evening, as they stargazed together, Mike turned to her. "I wonder how many people are out there waiting for someone like us to save them," he mused, his voice rich with hope. "Too many," she whispered, feeling the weight of her past mingling with her aspirations. "But together we can do something about it." In that moment of vulnerability, they leaned closer, hearts racing as they acknowledged the connection blossoming between them. "I'm glad you're by my side," Mike murmured, sincerity etched in his words. The war drums of the galaxy echoed with uncertainty and courage as their small coalition grew. They pressed forward, their path leading to the heart of Kaloth's empire, their greatest challenge yet looming on the horizon, shadowed by fear. As they prepared for the final confrontation, tension tightened like a noose. Kaloth's fleet is moving closer, Zara reported, her eyes grave. But we're ready to meet him halfway. In the ensuing silence, a looming sense of finality pulsed through the group. Let's make history, Mike prompted, adrenaline tingling in the air. And they raced forth, the culmination of their struggles pouring forth as they charged toward a destiny bound to test them all. The decisive day arrived, a mixture of tension and anticipation swirling within the hearts of the brave coalition. Arya's heart raced with trepidation as they gathered, weapons gleaming under the bright, shrouded light of the planet's sun. Today, we confront the heart of tyranny, Mike's voice boomed, rich with resolve. The air bristled with anticipation, each fighter looking to him for inspiration. We fight not just for ourselves, but for those who have suffered in silence. We fight for the future. Around them, their coalition rallied with explosive energy. Fight or die, it was all on the line. Together, they boarded ships, mistrust exchanged for camaraderie as they soared into the void. The fleet is ahead, Zara yelled from the cockpit, her voice tense as she navigated through the straining vibrations of the vessel. The expansive darkness ahead represented a confluence of determination, every soul aboard spurred by the fire of rebellion. As they ripped through the atmosphere, their ships erupted into a symphony of destruction, a glorious confrontation igniting in the heart of darkness. Arya's heart thundered as she joined the fray, blasters igniting with blazing power. A glimmer of hope ignited, shimmering against the spine of despair. Blasters whirred and sparked as chaos enveloped the battlefield. "Arya, move left," Mike shouted. She ducked instinctively, narrowly dodging laser fire, the rush of combat overwhelming her senses. A surge of adrenaline propelled her forward, and in that moment, she thrived. "Keep moving," she roared, firing back at the dark fleet, the darkness encroaching upon them. They dodged through bursts of blaster fire, dancing gracefully on the edge of danger as they pushed deeper into enemy territory. "On my mark, mark," Mike directed, their motions intertwined like an intricate waltz amongst the chaos. The enemy troops lined before them, Kaloth's soldiers, determined to crush the hope blooming at their threshold. With the echoes of their past struggles ringing in her ears, Arya charged forward, bursting forth with newly forged strength. She fought with a determination rooted in the fires of her rebellion, her transformation from a captive to a warrior fully realized. "Look out!" Zara cried out suddenly, as enemy reinforcements flanked them. In that moment of panic, Arya locked eyes with Mike, who nodded, his expression unwavering. "We can't stop now. Push through," he yelled. A wild dance of energy erupted as they rushed toward their goal, the heart of Kaloth's flagship, every ounce of fear evaporating in the heat of the moment. Together, they propelled themselves forward with a fierce dance against the takeover of despair. When they finally breached the flagship's stronghold standing within the eye of the storm, Kaloth awaited them with a twisted smile. "You think you can threaten me? You're nothing but a flicker among the stars," he hissed, his presence dark and foreboding. Arya raised her blaster, heart pounding with relentless support from those behind her. "We were never nothing," she challenged, the power of unity flooding her voice. "We are the rebellion." With a final surge, they charged Kaloth. The battle intensified, resonating forces striking against one another until the world blurred around them. The chaos of the battlefield swirled into a storm, the clash of wills echoing through the flagship, now ablaze with hope and fury. Surrounded by blasters and devastation, Arya felt the fires of war ignite within her, each pulse resonating within her heart, the truth of her strength unveiled. "Arya, we need to break through," Mike shouted, his voice slicing through the pandemonium. With every ounce of determination, she pressed on. "I'm with you," she cried, finding her way back to him. The unity between them had evolved into something powerful, a bond unbreakable amidst the storm. Together they raced toward Kaloth, each stride fueled by the memories of the millions who had suffered under his rule. With every shot fired, Every battle cry declared, the oppressive weight of tyranny broke, piece by piece. As they surged forward, Arya felt herself transforming deeper into the fighter she was meant to be. She would no longer be defined by her past as a slave. In this moment, she was the fire of rebellion, a blazing testament against despair. "Let's end this," Mike urged as they neared Kaloth, who stood before them with an icy smirk, dark energy crackling around him. "No more," Arya spat defiantly, raising her blaster. In a moment electrified by determination, they charged at their mutual nemesis, echoing with the strength of their fight. With one final cry, they struck together. Their weapons collided with Kaloth in a symphony of energy, a roar that transformed fear into determination and darkness into light. In that explosion, the climactic force of rebellion burst like a supernova, ringing across the cosmos. As silence settled over the battlefield, the weight of what they had done washed over them. Each soldier stood in reverent disbelief, eyes wide and hearts racing, their lives transformed by the power of unity. Freedom wasn't just a word, it was a tangible reality they had woven together. Amid the wreckage, Arya turned to Mike, a mixture of joy and disbelief coursing through her. "We did it! We actually did it!" she whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. Mike pulled her into an embrace, fierce and protective. "We fought for everyone who couldn't," he replied, heart swelling with pride. And thus, as they embraced, the universe sparkled with possibilities. They were no longer alone. Their bond had forged a new path, one filled with hope and power, ready to embrace the adventure that lay ahead. In the aftermath, the war had changed them, but it had not broken them. Together, they stood on the precipice of a new dawn, at the intersection of love, courage, and liberation that pulsed through the galaxy. With their hearts painstakingly intertwined, they set forth on a mission to restore hope to galaxies still shrouded in darkness.